David Otto is the director for Geneva Centre for Africa Security and Strategic Studies. He joins me now live from Abuja. Thank you very much, David, for joining us here on TRT World. Now, certainly, as the ongoing conflict in Sudan continues to escalate, many foreign nationals have been evacuated. So does it in any way indicate that the international community has now decided to abandon Sudan?
I think it depends on which angle you're looking at. I mean, the primary responsibility for the international community, but of course, individual countries, is to safeguard the well-being of their citizens. Bearing in mind that the situation in Khartoum is one in which there is now lack of basic necessities. People are no longer safe because of the intensity in which the rapid support forces and the Sudanese armed forces have engaged in indiscriminate shooting against each other. So it has become a little bit unprecedented that this kind of warfare is happening within national security agencies. So it has forced the hand of several countries to look at evacuation as the first option. But again, it does seem as if the question again is, if everyone leaves Sudan, then what happens to the Sudanese themselves? Who is going to rescue them? As we've seen, a lot of people are moving out of Khartoum, relocating to other areas. But it does indicate some level of frustration from the international community that they are now unable to reach out.
So I was coming to that actually. So now that foreign countries have evacuated their citizens, so does that mean they're no longer interested in mediating this conflict?
Not necessarily. I think the first step is security and safety for your nationals, and then of course alongside that, there is backdoor engagement, and this is one thing which I do encourage. Because I believe that the best way is for foreign nations to continue to put pressure and use their leverage, to bring together both General Buhan and General Hemeti of the Rapid Support Forces to kind of go back to what I describe as the last known good and have some kind of reconciliation for a peaceful sharing of power towards a democratic process.
Right, but David, the evacuation of foreign nationals is a routine process, especially in conflict zones. But the situation in Sudan is very concerning due to the scale of the conflict and the risk that it poses to its civilians. So many are questioning whether or not the international stakeholders, which include the African Union, the United Nations, and other major global powers, are doing enough at this point to address the conflict in Sudan and, most importantly, to support Sudanese people.
I think in terms of doing much, I would have expected to see, the United Nations, the African Union, but also IGAD, which is, a regional body. It does have priority over the African Union in terms of first engagement. I would have expected them to, focus a lot of the attention on engaging with both leaders, for some kind of an agreement. I don't think we would see a ceasefire being respected at this point in time if both leaders do not reconcile. Because, what is going on now, I have to, point this out, is that there is a fight for consolidation of power between the two leaders. They need to make sure that they have control of critical infrastructures. They want to have control of, for example, the army headquarters, the airport. They want to have control of the presidential palace, the air coverage. So some of these very critical infrastructures, they are looking to make sure that they consolidate this power. And that is why we haven't seen any level of respect for ceasefire, because one side or the other knows very well that if they do not have control of this asset, then effectively they are not in control. So that is the challenge which the United Nations and other international bodies are facing. But that is why I encourage that the best solution and the most effective solution is to, kind of reconcile both leaders and let them have power sharing at this point in time while preparing for a transitional government.
David Otto, thank you very much for talking to us here on TRT World. Really appreciate your taking out the time.